It's really funny because a lot of people ask me, like, if I baked a lot or cooked a lot while growing up. The answer is no. Food was really important to me, or to my family a lot, just because food is very important to people in my culture and, like, you know, Latin Mexican culture. But when I was growing up, I was not allowed in the kitchen because I've always been really messy, that my mom was always like, get out of here, like, don't, you're going to make a mess and then I'm going to have to clean it up. So I really didn't cook or bake much until I moved to San Antonio. And when I moved here, my grandma, to get me out of the house, really kind of just forced me to take cake decorating classes at, I think it was Michael's. And that's when, you know, that's when I started to realize, like, oh, I really like baking and I really like decorating. And that's where everything grew. From there, I used to go to visit my sister at her college, where I would work with a chef, and that's when I realized I really like bread, and I really like, that's how it kind of evolved. But it really didn't start until I was like 11 or 12.
And do you remember one of your first bakes?
I do. I remember one of my first bakes that I can remember was, I made a cake for myself for my birthday, and I had, oh god, I mean, they seem like really dumb mistakes now, but I wanted it to be green with, like, paint splatters. And I was super excited because I was going to take it to school, but I forgot to, like, oil the pan. So then after it had been in the oven for, I don't know, however long, it was one of those things where, like, I tried to take it out and it was, like, stuck and it was a mess. I was, like, crying and it was terrible. I mean, those are mistakes that I don't make anymore, right? But just something so simple. That was, like, the first memory of me baking something that I have.
Did you just eat it out of the pan?
I don't even remember. Probably. I mean, probably, but I don't even know what I did with the cake. I think a huge part of me and my story that is just usually very clear in everything that I make is flavors that are nostalgic to me. Flavors that I grew up with that are very familiar and popular, mostly in Mexico City. Thankfully, San Antonio has that culture that it's really receptive to it, or else I don't think I would do very well as a chef, because San Antonio gets me. It understands me. We kind of have, like, the same history, I guess. So it's a lot of flavors and a lot of flavor profiles and ingredients that are very Latin, very Mexican, that are very nostalgic to me, that even if I don't try, they somehow always end up in something that I make. So I think that's, like, something that's super, super obvious. Like, it's always there. Something that I also think, I tend to make pastries, not that look like me, because that's not the right word, but I am someone that's, like, bright and bubbly and, you know, colorful. So my pastries somehow always end up being a little playful and colorful and a little nostalgic and just kind of pretty. And I guess it makes sense that I would make them. It's never anything crazy, but they're kind of clean and just pretty and, like, colorful. Sometimes I add a little bit of, like, edible glitter just for fun. So it's that kind of thing.
Like these beautiful conchas. They're so beautiful. I love this color too.
Thank you. Nostalgia to me tastes like, its flavors like the combination of, like, mango and chamoy, right? So, like, sweet and a little bit of spicy, or like dulce de leche instead of using caramel. A lot of, like, citrusy fruits. Like, I love passion fruit. I love using, like, strawberries, and those are things that are just so available in Mexico City that I grew up eating. So there's things that I like, and there are things that, you know, like, I enjoy eating, and that's usually, you know, what I like to make. I like to create food that is obviously visually appealing, but that also tastes really good, and things that are approachable to everybody. I don't like to make, you know, use crazy ingredients or recipes that may turn some people away. Like, I like to make things that everyone is going to recognize and they're going to want to try, and it's going to play on that little nostalgia, you know, that maybe they had when they were younger, or like a flavor that they're familiar with and they really like. Something that I really love about, like, what I do is how when, like, when you think about a birthday or a wedding or an anniversary, most of the time you remember the cake, you remember the cupcakes, you remember the dessert, right? Like even though I think it's super cheesy, like proposing to someone at dinner, it's always with dessert. When you get married, all the photos are with a wedding cake. At a birthday, you're with a cake. The photos are with a cake, and those are the things that you remember. And I think it's such a major thing that people choose to make you part of such monumental moments in their lives. It's huge, and it's an honor, and it's incredible. So I think that's what I try to do. Like, I just try to make like really special moments a little bit more magical and like more delicious with what I make.
It was so true, though. No, I mean, I don't know anyone that's ever like proposed using a steak,
right? Like your appetizers, like you don't. It's really always dessert. Like, it's such a big, and like when you see your like photos of like your parents when they got married or your grandparents, 99% of the time it's with a cake, or like when a little kid turns 1, it's like them eating a cupcake, and it's such a huge deal, and it's a really big honor that, I mean, for the rest of their lives, they're going to see this photo and, like, yeah, they're going to be married or whatever, but, like, your cake is going to be there, and everyone is going to know the cake, and they're going to talk about, the cake, and it's just, like, it's such a huge deal. It's amazing. And when you go, I mean, when you're doing a dessert, even if it's, like, a plate of dessert for dinner, it's the last thing people eat before they leave. So it's the most recent thing they remember. A lot of things that we joke about is when the kitchen messes up, when the servers mess up, how do they make it up? By sending you free dessert, right? So it's a more memorable, like it's the most memorable experience of so many parts of your life. It has, like, they have to do with like sweets and like delicious like creations that I get to make, which is really, really cool. If I have learned something in the kitchen that has really like bled, not bled, but like kind of gone further than just professionally, it's just to persevere. It's just to keep going. It's just to keep pushing. It's to believe mostly in yourself, but to know that like you're in the right path, right? So I mean, it hasn't been easy, it hasn't been fast, it hasn't been anything, and there's been a lot of like roadblocks, and there could have been a lot of opportunities for me to just be like, I'll just do something else, but I've always just kept going, and I've kept, a smile on my face, and I just kept pushing and persevering and moving forward, professionally, personally, with my family, with my friends. I mean, it's a really, really hard industry to be in, and there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to make when you're in it. But, like San Antonio has always been there for me. My family has always been there for me. A selective group of friends have always been there for me. And I have always been there for myself. So I've always believed in me. I've always believed that, I've always believed that I wanted to be a pastry chef. I believed that I wanted to be a pastry chef in San Antonio. I believed that I wanted to accomplish, a list of things. And even if things around me weren't working out, I just kept pushing myself and going forward and believed in the final goal, which was to do what I do and to be a voice for the city and to see it grow and help it grow if I could. And I just kept, eyes on the prize, for lack of a better phrase, and just kept going. Like, there were roadblocks and there were times where I got pushed down or whatever, but I always got up and I always kept going, and I just persevered. I just didn't let it stop me.
And thank God you persevered.
Oh gosh.
Because now you get to represent San Antonio as a UNESCO Chef Ambassador.
Yes, I do.
So for someone who doesn't even know what that means, can you illustrate what this role not only looks like, but what does it mean for you personally in your story?
So for the outside looking in, being an UNESCO Chef Ambassador, I mean, it seems that it's like traveling and cooking demonstrations and, it's just essentially being like a traveling chef. But for me, the opportunity that I have to be part of something like UNESCO and like it's huge, right? It's the name itself is huge and really significant, and the fact that San Antonio has that designation out of only 2 cities in the United States is massive. So the fact that a group of people chose me to be one of the chefs to represent the city and our designation and get to talk to people that are passionate about sustainability and food and culture, that think the same way that I do and that are passionate about the same things that I am, is like I don't even believe it sometimes, because it's what I love in the city that I love doing, what I love to do, and they're trusting me to do it, and they're trusting me to do it in a pretty big platform, and it's an honor. I love San Antonio so much, and I love like what it's done for me and how accepting it has been of me and my career and like growing and moving forward, that the fact that I get to just talk about how much I love it and like our culture and our food and our sustainability efforts in the culinary industry and the gastronomy growing so quickly and like just dazzling is like the biggest honor that I could have ever been given. Like I still cannot believe that they were like, oh yeah, she's great. She's a great candidate for this. Like it's crazy. It's insane.
Tell me about one of the highlight moments of this, of your time as a UNESCO Chef Ambassador.
Oh my gosh. I think, one of the highlights, it's just all been insane. Like, I think the people that I have gotten to meet, in very different parts of the world that I honestly never thought I would make it to. It's the best and also kind of like the hardest part is that I have gotten to meet groups of people that I have connected with like so deeply, because we are so passionate about the same things, and we're very similar, and we're interested in the same things, that you meet. I got the opportunity to go to China, and I met some amazing chefs over there that love food and love gastronomy, and you think the same, and you're passionate about the same things. And then I got to go to Italy, and I met literally like the best, like the most amazing friend that I could have ever made, and we like the same things, not just from like gastronomy and food and eating and culture, but like we're also like huge Swifties. So it's like, it's crazy, right? And you meet these amazing people that you just connect with, and you're with like 24 hours a day for like 4 days. But then at the end of the day, you have to leave, right? And they stay in one side of the world, and you have to go back to the other side of the world. And it's an incredible feeling to know that you can make connections so far away, while at the same time being sad because, you have to go back home. But you always have, it's so easy to like keep in contact with people nowadays, that like you always have those friendships and you will always have those connections that you really wouldn't have known or gotten any other way. So I think that has been my favorite part, just meeting these amazing people that have the same passions and have the same goals and believe in the same things that you do, and just exchanging how passionate you are about each other's like cities and gastronomy, and just being able to form those connections that I would have never met these people otherwise. So I think that's been like my favorite part, just the human connection.
If you could stand next to 11-year-old Sofia.
Oh gosh.
When she first had that class at Michael's, what do you think she would say to you?
Oh my gosh. 11-year-old me I I would have never, ever expected my life to go the way that it has. I was having a really hard time when I was younger, just being in San Antonio. And I never thought that I was going to be happy here. I never thought that I was going to make a life for myself here. So to be able to go back and just tell myself that everything was going to be okay and that I was going to grow and grow with the city and that San Antonio was going to be like such an instrumental part of my life, just to tell myself that everything was going to be fine and that everything that I ever wanted, I was going to get here, and that San Antonio was going to give us, I guess, like happiness and a home and safety and really good food. Like it would be amazing. I never, really, truly never thought I was going to get to this point when I first moved here.
What a journey it's been.
Oh my gosh. it's been a lot, but it's been beautiful. Yeah. Looking back on it, maybe at the time it wasn't, but looking back on it, it's been absolutely beautiful.